What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Peruvian Waltz podcast. The logo is joining you again because I still can't get my camera to work. It really sucks. I have no idea what's going on, but let's just move on. I'm being joined by Peter Galindo. He's going to be our only guest today. How are you, Peter, up in Canada?
Yeah, doing well. It is now freezing cold. I hate this. I wish I lived in South America. One of the few times I probably will say that at this time anyways, it's better than Canada, at least weather-wise.
Weather-wise, it's not even a doubt. Lima is perfect for weather, if you ask me. Except if at least temperature, anyways. It's getting kind of hot here, to be honest. I have my fan on right now, so if you hear that, I'm sorry, but you should be able to hear it.
I'm jealous.
But yeah, the weather here is all right. If you're happy with cloudy days, then the temperature is fine. So,
yeah, good point. Good point.
So, anyways, okay. So, anyways. I just wanted to quickly note that we're going to be doing the podcast from Wednesdays until the end of the year, because on Tuesdays, have you known I've been skipping a few pods, and that's because Tuesday have so much to do that by the end of the day I'm so knackered I just don't want to do it. So I think Wednesday for now is a better bet until the end of the year, because Tuesday I got my therapy and I got my class, and it really sucks going home at the end of it and just not wanting to do it. So I really wanted to be in last week's pod, but I was just so tired that I wasn't. So you're going to hear all my thoughts that I missed from last week in this week's pod. And, yeah, I guess we can get started. I just need to add a little disclaimer there. So why don't we start with the national team stuff? So first we're going to play Ecuador. And I want to mention we had a good little preview because we beat them in the under-17s and the under-20s. And, yeah, Ecuador have not beat us in anything in a long time. So it's kind of good to feel that way, because before it was the other way around. Before we couldn't beat Ecuador in anything, they were our father in everything. So now we're gonna play Ecuador, and I'm expecting another win tomorrow. Especially if we use the starters. If we use the starters, then no doubt we'll win. My only concern is Miguel Trauco, because Miguel Trauco is at the end of last month he was getting a few. Not at the end of last month, but at the end of September he was getting a few games, and it got him back into form a little bit, but I believe since then he hasn't played a game again. So you can correct me on that, Peter.
No, he has not had any appearances since then, which I think it coincided with the coaching change. Again, he kind of got a little bit screwed over by that, so that's unfortunate for him.
Well, luckily, I think Antonio Valencia hasn't gotten many minutes either, has he?
No, he hasn't. He has not.
So that's going to be like a good match. Like we've been spared there, because Valencia normally would massacre Trauco in that situation. But I think we'll be fine now just because of that. So is he even going to play? I know Ender Valencia is going to play, but I've read reports that Antonio might not even play.
Antonio Valencia, I think at this point he is in their projected 11, but again, that could change.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So a few thoughts on this game. Otherwise, like I said, I think we should win, especially these are 11. I don't want to say it will be comfortable. I originally would have said a 2-0 because, well, okay, maybe it will be comfortable, but I'm not going to say it's a smashing. I would say I want to say 2-0, both the subs and the starting 11. But just because our Peru side isn't made to thrash anyone unless they're having a horrid performance like Chile. So I think that this is a good opportunity. Like I said, this month really should be an experimental month. And sadly, the most experimental player got injured throughout it. So it really sucks. But I think there's a good chance for Benavente to shine. I would like him to start in this game, to be honest, rather than Farfan, because Farfan is in the projected 11. Because it is a bit unfair on him to give him 5 minutes and then blame people and start conspiracies that nobody wanted to pass the ball to him, and just give him the full start. Like, come on. All right, well, Peter, what do you think of this game, this Ecuador game overall? Do you agree with what I said, and who would you like to see in the starting 11?
Well, yes, I do agree with you in terms of the prediction, in terms of how the game will play out. It looks like Peru is going to throw out all their starters, which is no surprise. It looks like Ecuador, for the most part, are going to have like kind of half and half. Basically half starters, half kind of experimental players, as it were. So the fact they're playing in Lima, the fact it's going to be exactly 1 year to the day that Peru qualified for the World Cup, I think all that put together, they should be able to, at least in the performance, comfortably win and this one with 2-0. And then in terms of players that I want to see, I mean, I've been banging this drum now for months on end. Christian Benavente is the one player I really want to see, along with Rui Diaz up front ahead of him. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen because Jefferson Farfan is going to, it looks like, take the number 10 role, with obviously Carrillo and Flores cutting inside at times to help him out. And it's a decision that somewhat baffles me, considering Benavente has been in camp a little bit longer. I think he was there a day or two sooner than Farfan because he had the 18-hour trek from Russia to Lima, which is obviously not great. And then on top of that, he's only had, I think, an average of about 55 to 60 minutes in 3 games since returning from injury. So you have to wonder what his fitness levels are going to be like. And maybe a player who is playing and starting week in and week out in Benavente and is in great form, why he wouldn't be preferred to start over Farfan, especially when the rest of the 11 is pretty much the exact same as what we would normally see in a competitive match. So it's disappointing to see. Maybe that changes up for the match in Arequipa against Costa Rica, but in terms of the first match, I really would have liked to see him from the off, especially because he is entering the camp in such fine form.
Yeah, I would really like to see the Costa Rica game be another experimental game like against the USA. Gareca's got to treat more of these friendlies like that, and then some of the friendlies closer to competitive matches. That's when you put the starters. So that's what I would think, because as we saw before the World Cup, I mean, I guess the World Cup is a different situation because you want to get the lineup to gel, but you still got to test some players, I think, in some ways. But I think this is a better time to do it. Like I said, this is an experimental month. And, another player we can see is Conchita Gonzalez in the number 10 role. So if you see Conchita Gonzalez over Benavente, I think Peter will cry. But, Gonzalez has he's been playing as somewhat of a winger at Melgar, which did not work out for him at Colo-Colo when he's usually better as a 10. But I feel like it's kind of weird. I feel like he's kind of adapted to that wing role, whereas as a 10, I feel like he's declined a little bit compared to when he was a Lau. Because now I see pace in him. Like, maybe he's not the fastest player in the world, but he's quite fast. So, we got a comment here from Dan. And Benavente actually plays like a 10, and Farfan doesn't have a lot of experience as a 10. Yes, that is true. I mean, Farfan could work as a 10. Yeah, he's got the experience. He's a very complete attacking player, and he could work there. But like I said, I think it has more to do with Benavente needing that chance, because he gets about 12 minutes in the pitch for a Peru game, and then if it's not good enough, he doesn't get called up again for a while. So it is a bit unfair on him. I think Benavente has even worse issues than Rui Diaz does with not fitting into the system, because he's not like a Peruvian player at all. He's more he's not even Peruvian, as we all know. So that is probably an issue. And I think that we really need to. I think we really need to experiment here. I almost cried when I saw Arias was injured, to be honest. And and we gotta talk about another thing. I am starting to worry about Gareca a little bit, because I don't want to be harsh, but I mean, after we saw the disaster that was Loyola last month, how could he get the call up again? Even at Melgar, he's not been very good this season. So I mean, you didn't have to call up a left back. You could have used Abram as a left back. So it does, like, one thing is having faith, but I think Gareca's had a little bit too much faith, and it's not worked out for him. It's so much to the point where it might cost him a few games at some point. Well, because he's not he really isn't the player we need at the moment, and he's not very good anymore. He's not good enough for the national team. There's so many other options you could have called up.
Well, I think part of it is obviously the fact that they're going to be playing in Arequipa. I think that was one reason.
Possibly.
The other reason is he is a squad regular. Yes, okay, he hasn't necessarily played particularly well when he's been given a chance, but there's familiarity there. And then the third part is it looks like Gareca wants to give Luis Abram a start at center back. So if he does that, and let's say Trauco, for whatever reason, he can't finish the 90 minutes, does he want to move Abram to the left and then have to make another change at center back? He might rather just want to do the one change, the one tweak, and then leave it at that. Plus, you would imagine that they're probably, at least you would hope, Loyola can lock it down against Ecuador and against Costa Rica, especially when he's going to be playing in his home stadium. So you would imagine. Again,
I don't know about that.
He could probably surprise.
Loyola versus Antonio Valencia and Joe Campbell doesn't really come for me much.
Yeah, I guess not. But unless maybe Gareca says, "Hey, Edison, track back and help him, please, because we need."
That's where you're wrong. Not even Edison could save Loyola at this point. So.
Oh well. We in case you guys can't tell, we have a bit of an agenda against Nilson Loyola. I'm trying to play devil's advocate, but
he's trying to be optimistic just to support Gareca. And yes, we all support Gareca because he did the impossible Peru. There's no way we can argue against him after some of his questionable decisions have paid off. And his questionable decisions are the ones that are going to shut us up. But I think this Loyola one is not going to be that because he's giving too many chances now. So he doesn't need it.
On the other hand, Brian, though, I'm sure he wants to look at a long-term replacement if it's not Loyola, which I think we've both been very adamant that it is definitely not Loyola who can be the vice Trauco or the backup to Trauco. He wants probably a more long-term option.
Marcos Lopez is there.
Other than Marcos Lopez, though, because he has been very, very good as a winger. Really, who else is there at this point? I know that there probably are a couple of names. One of them is escaping my mind at the moment. Maybe you'll bring them up. But other than, the Santillans of the world, the Gerson Vasquez's of the world, there's really nobody kind of in that, teenager to 25-year-old range that he could call up that could be given a chance and could actually do well. But again, there was a name that I can't remember. Maybe but there was someone in that range who could possibly be an option.
Well, that name is not coming up to me. It's not Santillán or Vasquez because they're kind of getting up in age. Yeah. But I'm not sure. Left back is definitely the most problem position for the future. That's why I'm very reluctant to see Lopez succeeding as a winger. I mean, I'm glad we have a player of that caliber in that position, but we don't need a player in that position. That's the issue. We absolutely don't. So I am concerned about that, but that's a topic for another time, I think, because I think this is specifically about the friendlies, and I hope we make the unbeaten run against Ecuador to 6 here, because it's kind of funny because before 2013, remember that game where Claudio Pizarro scored that half volley inside the box, and that game that was supposedly going to take us to the World Cup with Marcarian. Before we ended up losing to Uruguay.
Yeah.
Well, if you remember that game, that 1-0 game where Fernandez saved literally every shot that went that goal. If you remember that game. That was the first win. That was Peru's first win over Ecuador in, I think, 40 years. And since then, we haven't lost to them. We played 5 games against them. We've won 3, I think. And, counting that one. We've won 3, and we've drawn, I want to say 2. It might be slipping my mind at the moment. Have we drawn 2 or have we won 4? Can't remember.
I will check that as you continue.
Well, yeah. We haven't. The point is, we haven't lost since that match against Ecuador, and I expect that run to continue because there's something I wanted to bring up, and that is that Ecuador last month they lost to Qatar and drew with Oman, and that was 2 very poor results for them. At least the latter, anyways. I'll get to that in a second, but. I think I'm pretty sure Ecuador are using subs, and here they're gonna be using more of the starters. Now it would be cool to see Narvaez come in, but I think we're gonna see. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's in the squad. I don't remember exactly, but Chile has been a lot better since the last time we faced them. And the other thing was I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, but yes, I remember now. I think the weakling in this Ecuador side is going to be Alexander Dominguez, who has been dreadful for Vélez. Little I've seen Dominguez. I've never rated Dominguez, but he's been dreadful for Vélez. And I think any shot that goes a goal is going to be a goal. To be honest, with no due respect to him, I think that Alexander Dominguez is definitely very much the weak link in this Ecuador side. And I think that center, the defense in general is poor, as we saw against Qatar last month. But I did want to mention that is that Qatar result really bad as we look at it, because they beat Switzerland today in Lugano. So
yeah, maybe, who knows?
But the Oman result is definitely a weak one.
Yeah, the Oman result is bad.
For sure. So, Peter, what do you think of these? All I said, and what's the record? Have you checked yet?
I have. You were right the first time. 3 wins, 2 draws.
What's the second draw? There's the Copa
that-
America. There's the Copa America. What was the other one?
Oh, damn it! Now I closed the tab.
Don't edit. Don't. We're not gonna edit this out. Don't edit this out. Don't edit this out.
Okay, so there's a draw at the Copa America. Then they. Oh no, it's only been 4. I miscounted. It's only been 4.
I miscounted then. Then. This would be 5. This would be 5.
This would be 5. They have 3 wins and 1 draw. The draw was at the Copa America. They won in the World Cup qualifier. And then, actually, they won the other 2 World Cup qualifiers in this last cycle, obviously. So 3 wins and a draw.
Yep. No, it's incredible that we've developed such a record against them. It speaks for our rise, but it also speaks for Ecuador's decline at the same time. Because, they started really good with Quinteros. I know they've lost the dressing room midway, or he lost the dressing room, rather. And they don't have the players they had before. Valencia's kind of getting up there in age. Ener Valencia's not the same that he was at 2014 World Cup or even the beginning of the World Cup qualifiers. The likes of Miro Bolaños have disappeared. Alexander Dominguez is terrible. And there is, obviously, let's not even mention the loss of retirement in Aguinaga Delgado. So that was a long time ago, of course.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a very different Ecuador side and very much a weaker one. So I think that Peru really should be winning this, like I said. And as for the Costa Rica match, let's move on to the Arequipa match. Arequipa, I don't think the players will feel the altitude because Peruvians don't tend to not feel the altitude too much. At least I don't, anyways. I usually feel altitude the first day when I go to certain towns, but I don't feel them a day after. I don't know how you are, Peter, but me and my cousin as well, neither of us feel the altitude too much. So I think that being in Arequipa is not going to be a hassle for us. And for Costa Rica, maybe. They played similar altitude in Mexico City. But I think this should be another win. But I have a feeling this is going to be an experimental match like against the USA. So it might be a little tougher. It might be a 1-0 or a 2-1. It might be a little tougher than the Ecuador match because we're starting with a start against Ecuador. And then I'm pretty sure we'll comfortably win. But against Costa Rica, we're going to start with the second string. The team might not be gelled like against the USA. They might not be performing as well. He might experiment roles, which is not going to be. It's not going to be an easy game. But I think that it's another win, or at least a draw. What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I think it'll be a narrow. It's going to be low scoring. I think because so many players will be unfamiliar with each other.
Yeah, that's what happened in the USA game.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not that they're all terrible. It's just that most of them are not familiar. Like you said, Peña was not playing an advanced role, for example.
Yes. Plus, Alexander Cayens returns to the team. There were substitutions made later on in that game. Jordi Reina comes on the pitch. And
Rui Diaz, don't forget about Rui Diaz not being familiar. His teammates not being familiar with Rui Diaz's movements, especially less than what he's already not as familiar with in the first team. So.
No. Definitely not. So there was that as well. And I imagine it's going to be the same thing. Maybe less so the Rui Diaz stuff, but more so the rest of it. All I'm going to say on this game is if Christian Benavente does not start that game, then I've just given up all hope in him actually getting a spot on this team as a starter. And I'm just going to jump off the bandwagon because at this point, if he can't start in either of these games, then we might as well, those of us in the Benavente loyalist unit might as well just give up at that point.
He's got to switch to Equatorial Guinea by then. He's got to move to Equatorial Guinea, another Spanish colony, and then switch to them. Ask FIFA a loyal request. Can I switch to Equatorial Guinea? These people in Peru won't play me.
God,
and he definitely won't play for Spain. So
You mentioned that you cried when Alexis Arias got hurt. I would cry if that happened with Christian Benavente.
The one player who I think it hurt was Arias. The one player.
Yeah, of course. Just classic, right?
And that's affected Melgar as well in some ways, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes, indeed. And it's also a shame because he was going to be playing in Arequipa possibly. Maybe could have started in Arequipa, which would have been very nice. But speaking of Melgar and Arequipa and everything else, I imagine Christopher Gonzalez gets to start in that game, considering, again, he'll be in his home stadium. I'm sure Gareca will want to give him at least some significant minutes in that match. And kind of as a show of faith, like, hey, you're back in the team. I'll give you a start at your home, which has happened with a couple players under Gareca whenever they've gone outside of Lima. I am very interested to see what he does. As you mentioned, Brian, more of a winger with Melgar, has done well in that role. It's been more of a free role as opposed to him just being stuck on the left wing or just stuck on either wing in general. But I think it could be very exciting to see him because he is quite, as you mentioned, a fast player, a direct player, a tricky dribbler. He's a player who does like to cut inside, go into the box, have a shot, which I think would be a very nice replacement in this game anyways for Flores, because you don't lose any of that drive on the wing. So it would be nice to see him start and to see what he can do. He is a little bit older than I think maybe some people would like to have. He's 26 years old. But look, in this cycle, if he were to continue to play very well for Melgar, and as Christopher maybe pointed out last week, potentially gets a move abroad, maybe he sticks around and becomes a regular member of the squad going forward.
He's already playing abroad, though. He's playing for Melgar. All due respect to all the Peñas. I had to sneak that joke in. But, okay, no, Gonzalez has always played well for the national team. He's kind of like Hurtado in a way. That he's not always been given the chance, but every time he has played, he has taken it. I remember his first appearance ever for Peru. Maybe not his first appearance, but against Trinidad and Tobago, he got his first touch, and the first touch was a goal. And then against Brazil and in Brazil, I thought he was actually quite good. Even though that game was a disgustingly bad performance, I thought it was kind of a bright spot in that game. And yeah, he's not always been given minutes, but I've always liked what he's been doing with the La Blanquiroja when he's come on. And same with Colo-Colo. Like some people say it was a disaster, Colo-Colo. That's what the result when you don't play many games, and when you do, you play out of position. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah. So hold on. Can you still hear me, Peter?
Yes, I can.
Yep. Okay, no, I accidentally plugged this. Okay, you can cut that out. So yeah, no, I do like the call of Gonzalez. It's definitely an interesting one, and you can see Gareca's been waiting a long time to call him back up. So because I can tell he's always been a fan of Cuesta or Conchita. So you could tell it's kind of like Loyola. You like how he plays. With Loyola, well, the difference is Loyola makes no sense. With Gonzalez, it makes sense, but he needs to wait for him to play. So now that he's playing again, it is a good one. I can see Gonzalez at most move to Mexico. I think so. Yeah. I think that'll be a good move, or the MLS.
Or MLS. MLS would be good for him too. But I think keeping it in this hemisphere, wherever it happens to be, I think that would be ideal for him.
Or Europe is also in our hemisphere, so some part of it.
Western hemisphere, in the Western hemisphere.
It's like when I said England was part of the Eastern hemisphere that one time.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, let's wrap up the national team talk because we're running out of topics here. So, Peter, anything else you want to add before we end this, and then we can go to the Clausura talk?
Yes, I'm going to once again make it clear to everybody out there, if you are still a critic of Ruiz, watch these games, because I feel like with the form that he displayed with the Seattle Sounders, almost single-handedly dragging them to the conference final. By the way, he was robbed for Newcomer of the Year. I think that should have been his award, especially considering what he did.
Who won it, Rooney?
No, Ibrahimovic won it.
Oh, yeah, and you were telling me in the chat that he should have been the Team of the Year, and yet you're saying Ibrahimovic should have not won the Newcomer of the Year. Like, your logic makes no sense.
Team of the Year is different from – anyway, we can't get into this now.
It's not different. It's not different.
My point is, to the people who are critics of Ruiz, just be patient, okay? The goals will come. He's had the chances. The team is starting to understand his movements, as Brian mentioned. They're supplying him the right kind of passes. He's making the runs. It's just been very unfortunate. That happens with strikers. Any striker who scores 100% of his chances is superhuman. Not even Lionel Messi does it. Not even Cristiano Ronaldo does it. So it's going to happen. He will. I'm very confident he's going to get a goal in either of these two games. And when that happens, I feel like the floodgates will open. That is one thing I really want to see from the team, is that Ruiz gets that elusive goal. I know we have one against Iceland back in March, but that was at a time when Paolo could still come back. That was at a time when maybe Farfan could play in as a false nine. With Rui Diaz basically is really the only reliable option. This will be, I think, a very good goal for him if he gets it.
And like I said, you can't compare Rui Diaz to Claudio Pizarro because I saw some guy call him Claudio Ruizarro earlier today. And you can't compare them because one plays in the MLS, and another one plays in one of the best leagues in the world, or has played most of his career in the best leagues in the world.
Yes.
So you can't compare them. Like, if they're both out of style, then fair enough. But you're comparing one player who is a good player for North America, a very good player, but to someone who is probably one of the best strikers in the world. So that is different. That's a very different topic. And I agree with Peter because when Rui Diaz scores goals, Peter is going to be like a lion unleashed from his cage. So
100%. You have no idea.
He's gonna have the memes ready, especially that meme that I posted where I was singing the other day.
Oh, that's going to be overused so much of the internet. Be prepared. That's going to happen.
Okay, well, let's go on to the Clausura. Like I said, there's going to be a bit of a shorter pod, so we're not gonna talk about a long time for the Clausura, but we kind of ran out of topics and planning, so we decided to just add this in. So it's all said and done. I'm just gonna get at the table quickly because there's one spot that does matter still. But as far as the relegation race, the third place race, or in other words, semifinals and the accumulated table, it's all said and done. There's only one. The only thing that matters is the one last Sudamericana spot, which is disputed between Binacional, Huancayo, and La U. And so, Peter, what do you think of the season so far? While I open this table up.
Well, look, end of the day, Sporting Cristal, as we mentioned in the Peruvian Waltz chat, whatever you want to say about their Clausura form, they've been the class of the league all year long. If Mario Salas isn't the manager of the year, it would be pretty shocking, even if they don't win the title, because I think they've just been so dominant. It's been pleasant to see Melgar, at least for a time, challenging them. Alianza, beginning of the season, we were very down on them because of what happened in the Libertadores, which was obviously very disappointing. But they righted the ship after the Torneo de Verano, and they've been able to finish third, and they're in the playoff, and they could actually defend their title, which is insane. Expecting more from Garcilaso and Municipal. I know that both of them could still end up getting one of those Libertadores spots, but I kind of expect them to make more of a challenge, especially Garcilaso in the Clausura. They didn't end up doing that. Municipal, I thought the entire year were probably going to be one of the contenders. Turns out, no. Franco Navarro, my friend, you are the most underrated manager in the league, I think. Because he's manager of UTC. And Universitario, again, avoiding relegation. They did it very comfortably. Nicolas Cordova deserves a lot of credit for getting them out of that mess. And they could still qualify for the Sudamericana, which is incredible to me. Only a couple points out from the Nacional. Either one of those teams, I think, getting it would be pretty incredible. But other than that, look, it's been another wild season in the Descentralizado, right? Never a dull moment, really, from top to bottom in the table.
Yeah, no. You also got to mention Mario Vieira, who started out kind of poorly at Sport Boys, but he took a basically dead Ayacucho side and saved them pretty comfortably from there. I guess Cordoba was in the same situation, but Cordoba was struggling at one point, whereas Vieira took them over and immediately had an impact. So that's the difference. And Mauricio Montes has been very good this season, the top Peruvian goal scorer. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with Franco Navarro. I know he hasn't had an outstanding season. Definitely does not deserve the manager of the year. But just behind the scenes, he's been immense. Like the development of Gustavo Dulanto last year and now Adriano Garriza. Like very few managers can have such complete stats there to well, not stats, but such completeness to develop players who looked hopeless at one point. And now Ugariza is probably a future. He's gonna be like he's gonna be like Sucre was a few years ago. Alex Sucre. I think he's gonna be like that. I think if Ugariza goes back, Ugariza can go back to San Martin if he wants because he's a former San Martin product. But he's been very good. He's been UTC's star man the past few weeks. So yeah, and Dulanto, I don't think I need introduction because I've been rambling about him for the past year. I mean, he's been poor. This has been a poor year from him, but I blame the Tavares Silva over him because with Ibanez season was immense again. So I think that Franco Navarro I think that a player like Osorio, a player like maybe not Marcos Lopez, who's already developed, but a player like Osorio, a player like maybe Osling Mora could go there and learn a lot from him because he's a very good development manager. Even if he didn't deserve Manager of the Year this time around, he still did very well with a very poor UTC squad. It has to be said.
Yeah, he did. And one of the things that I'd add to that is obviously he didn't really have much of a lethal goal scorer up front. I know Millan got like 12, 13 goals this year, something like that. But in terms of like that central attacking presence, he never really had that. But Ugarriza is not someone who's going to bag you 20, 25 goals a season anyway, right? So the fact that he didn't really have that goal scorer, I think it cost them a lot of points this year. Obviously, based on what they did and the poor start they had to the season, by the way. Can't be understated how strong the finish was. So getting into a Sudamericana spot is huge, but if it wasn't for the lack of goals, you maybe wonder if they could have pushed for a Libertadores spot, which would have been incredible considering the competition for those places.
Well, yes, they have a sturdy defense. It's just about the goals, which Ugarriza has been banging a lot of them in the past few weeks. So now they have 2 goal scorers in Ugarriza and Millan. So that's quite good. But they're literally the only 2 goal scorers they have. Ponce is terrible this year. He was decent last year, but this year he's not been the same. Collazos, I've never rated Collazos, not even when he was at Cantolao. I've always thought he was a pretty poor player. And there's no one else really. That left wing is also pretty abysmal, if I have to say so myself. I don't remember who it was, but all I remember is the left wing was poor. I remember that left wing was the weak link of that UTC side. So, Huancayo, after such a strong start, they had a poor finish. They might lose out to Binacional. They're not going to lose out to La U anymore, but they're not in it yet. I'm pretty sure. And as for the last thing I want to mention, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Daniel Rivera from Unión Comercio, who's come off the bench many times and he's managed to bag 8 goals. Yes. And I've seen him, and he's quite a versatile player too. He can play on the wing as well, and he's pretty good at dribbling. So is he the next Miguel Trauco? I got crap from this journalist from ESPN saying he was the next Miguel Trauco because he's not a left back. No, that's not what I meant. I meant, is he going to go to Lima and then end up in the national team at some point? He's going to tear it up. He's going to show the world. He's going to show the country what he's got, and then he's going to go to the national team. That's what I meant by the next Miguel Trauco, which he could be. He could be. I think this year he showed a lot of promise. I think he should stay one more year in Comercio, and then maybe the next year, if he impresses that year, he should take a leap. So yeah. And as for the last thing I want to talk about, Deportivo Municipal and Real Garcilaso still fighting that Libertadores first stage spot for the 4th spot. Which I don't know if we're going to get 4 spots next year, but if we do, then it's going to be between Garcilaso and Municipal. And Bulos has come in, and since he's recovered really well from injury, he's looked very good since coming back. His best form since leaving Municipal. His best form since the beginning of Boavista, I would say. So the beginning of Boavista, he's pretty good. O'Higgins, he was very average, but in Portugal, he was good until his injury. And then at Municipal, his first time, he was also very good. So, Peter, is this Bulos' level? Or Gareca has been happy with how he's been progressing. Another Gareca favorite, you have to say. Yeah. But do you think Bulos could be an option for the national team? He keeps his form up starting next year.
Yeah, I think he has to be, and he also fits the mold of kind of more of a hold-up striker as well. Yes, he can do other things, which is obviously very nice to have. But if you want someone in more of the Paolo mold as opposed to the Rui Diaz mold, I think he's your guy. And he was called up, I believe it was in August and September last year, to kind of be that Paolo replacement when he was suspended for the Bolivia match.
Yes.
Obviously didn't see the field, but either way, he was an option. And the fact that he is doing well at, let's be honest, a team that is doing quite well this season that could end up playing, either way, they're going to be playing in the Sudamericana or the Libertadores. Yeah. It's just a matter of which one it is. So if he performs well to start next season, they do well in the competition on top of that, in South America, he has to be considered an option, especially with the dearth of options that Peru has up front at the moment.
No, absolutely. And Victor Rivera has been criticized for his past few years, like since San Martin did not had a good club. But this season, when he's got the lineup to work, he's Municipal have looked really very good, especially that Cabrera, who's been quite a revelation this season. I have to say, I think it's too premature to say he's going to be in the national team in a few years, but he's one to watch out on for sure. He's not one that maybe we're talking about, but he's one to watch out on. And as for the manager of the year, I didn't really say this when you mentioned it, so this is kind of a very bad transition. But I think it has to go to Salas or Viera, one of the two. Salas for being the most consistent, well, not the most consistent, but for being the most dominant team in Peru this year, especially after the disaster with Cristal last year. I mean, sure, he's made a few mistakes at the end, but I think he deserves it. And second, Viera for what I mentioned already, because he basically took a dead Ayacucho team and saved them. And that's for the others. I don't think it will depend on who wins the title because Hernan Torres, I mean, it will depend, obviously, but in my view, it won't because Hernan Torres has not been very good with Melgar. He's basically thrown away the Clausura now, and I don't think he ever played inspiring football. And he's complaining about leaving because the referees don't help him, which is kind of embarrassing for a manager of his caliber. I mean, he's managed a team, for example. So not my team, the Colombian team. So yeah, Alianza Lima, Bengochea should not win it anyway, even if they win the title, because there's so many weaknesses in the Alianza side. It's unreal. I don't know how they're in third at the moment. I mean, all Alianza's done this season, this half the season again, third. Throw a long ball and then hope Afonso headers it in. That's really all they've been. Yeah, he does, but that's really all they've been. Like, it is in the Libertadores, they're going to be embarrassing again if they qualify with these many weaknesses. And yeah, Bengochea, I mean, he has kind of, I don't want to say silenced me. I mean, he has done well. He's a manager that wins in Peru, but I don't think he's the manager to take Alianza to that next level. I think that he did what he needed to do last year with winning the title, the long overdue title, but I don't think he's what Alianza needs to kick off. Like I said, he doesn't try many youth. He's stubborn, and I don't think he's the right manager to keep going. So I know I'm being harsh, and it might seem like a development, an agenda for Bengochea. I'm not. I can guarantee you I'm not. I've tried to praise him, and I still see flaws in his team. And I don't think that, like I said, if they go to Libertadores next year, they're not going to do anything because there's really not much they can do with this style of play. So, again, credit to Bengochea for winning the title, taking Alianza back to where they belong. But I think it is time for them to part ways. What do you think, Peter?
Well, it looks like he's probably going to part ways regardless because there's personal problems in his family. So he probably will step down regardless. At that point, it will be interesting to see what happens with Alianza because, look, they have, you could argue, the best academy setup in the country. They certainly keep churning out youth prospect after youth prospect. So it's not like they're lacking in that department. And then they have the resources to be able to make additions to the first team with players from outside of the club. So they can definitely build a very successful team there. You maybe just need a coach to play maybe a little more proactive, something that's perhaps more sustainable. Because I think one of the problems with the counterattacking style is you will get results and you probably will more or less do well enough, but are you going to really reach your maximum potential? Are you going to see sustainable results over a long period of time? More than likely not. That's why Sporting Cristal are where they are, because they establish a style that will ensure that they get result after result after result. Alianza, if we remember back to the Apertura when they were fighting with Cristal, Cristal basically gave them every opportunity to be able to jump past them and even win the Apertura, but Alianza just could not get the job done. And that's part of the reason why. Look, credit to Bengochea for righting the ship after the rough first part of the season, getting them into the playoff. And if they win the title, again, congratulations to them. But I still think Alianza can do better from here, especially given the stature of that club. They should be probably playing, let's say, prettier stuff. And I know the fans kind of do expect that as well, so maybe they'll end up getting it. In terms of my pick for manager of the year, though, which I think I mentioned it earlier, but I think it has to be Salas. They played the best football. They finished top of the Acumulada, which I know it doesn't mean a lot if you don't win the title. But look at the team from last year. Look at them this year. I think that's all the evidence you really need.
Yeah, no. Back to the Bengochea thing. Like I said, I don't want people to think I'm developing an agenda for him because it might seem like I'm backtracking, even though he keeps on winning with the Alianza, at least in recent times. But like I said, I think there's a difference between playing ugly and playing well, and then playing ugly and playing badly. I mean, against the other day against Huancayo, they misplaced so many passes in the midfield. I've lost count. Like that's not playing well, if you ask me. That's not playing ugly and playing well. That's just playing badly in general. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I don't want to backtrack because Bengochea is winning, but hear me out, okay? To win in Peru, you don't have to play well. I mean, if you have quality, that's sometimes all you need. Because, like I said, Alianza Lima has so many weakness fullbacks, and I have a feeling that has to do with his style as well, because maybe Garro isn't as bad as we think, because Villamarin came in to fix the problem. He started playing a few games at right back, and he was also awful, which is weird because Villamarin is a great player. So I'm surprised he was as poor as he was. And Alianza Lima fans, when they say he's poor, I don't agree he's a poor player, but I agree he's been poor. His spell has been poor at the club. And that really made me wonder, does it have to do with the fullback style? Kind of like when Chale came in with Lau, his center backs would never perform, no matter who he had. Like we had Mulo Rodriguez, and he still looked awful. So that really makes me question about Bengochea's style, if it has to do with something with that over the poor performing player. Because Duclos suspended himself to the Vigo. I refuse to believe he's as bad as he is. So it's interesting. It is interesting. I think he also played in the Nike Academy, or was that someone else? No, that was Guidino.
Yes.
So Guidino's also not a very bad player. I mean, he's limited, but at Municipality was not defensively better than he was here at Alianza. So, what do you think, Peter?
No, completely agreed. Really nothing else to add. Again, you just kind of hope that if Bengochea leaves, the club hires someone who I think can give the Alianza fans a better product on the pitch, because even though they are getting the results, and I'm sure that they like that, probably deep down they also wish that they were kind of playing, the kind of football Cristal plays, or the kind of football that, at least when it was clicking, Sport Huancayo played. Just something that would get them out of their seats more often, and something more sustainable.
Yep. Okay. Well, we're gonna end the pod here. I know it's been a bit of a shorter pod, but like I said, we struggled with topics today, and we didn't want to not give you a spectacle before the spectacle tomorrow. So, remember the disclaimer that we are going to record podcasts every Wednesday till the end of the year, with maybe the odd Thursday, maybe even the odd Tuesday. But it's the date's going to be primarily Wednesday until the end of the year, and then we're going back to Tuesday, our usual day. So that's going to be the end of the pod. My name is Brian Birdie, and my Twitter handle is B_Birdie98. Peter, what is yours?
As always, at Galindo PW, and you can follow the show and the website at Peru Waltz, and subscribe on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes as well.
All right, so that's going to end it. So thank you for listening. This is the Peruvian Waltz team, and we're signing off. Cheers.